reviews are in, and we're going to tell you what they are. He's Todd Vandenberg, still reporting from his remote location known as Miami, because it's snowing everywhere else. I'm Rob Steele, where, yeah, I think it is snowing. Not my idea. Anyway, couple movies that we're going to talk about this week. Todd, we're going to start with you in a movie that I'll admit
this movie is not that well known. It actually came out last year, but it's out there on streaming, and since we talk about streaming a lot, here we go. So this movie is called First Reformed, starring Ethan Hawke. I am shocked that Lee hasn't reviewed this movie like 3 or 4 times because he loves him some Ethan Hawke. This is from writer-director Paul Schrader. People may not be that familiar with his name. Just, oh yeah, Paul Schrader, I got to go see this. But they're very familiar with the movies that he's written. Wrote The Taxi Driver, American Gigolo, Raging Bull, The Last Temptation of Christ. You've heard of a few of the movies that this guy has done, obviously. So those are movies he's written. Also directed American Gigolo. Directed the remake of Cat People, which is it's way back in the 80s, but it's a very creepy, weird movie. So he's been around. He's got his chops in. Based on those movies, this is probably not going to be a light, happy film, right? And it isn't. A dramatic thriller, very, very interesting. First Reformed is Ethan Hawke is a minister of a church, a small, old church that has been kind of taken under the wing of one of the huge mega churches. And the name of his church is First Reformed. So that's where the title comes from. But it also, of course, because it's a Paul Schrader thing, it talks about redemption and the interplay between people. So he is a minister who's kind of going through a crisis of faith, comes across a young couple. They come to him for some counseling. They're not really having issues in their marriage, but they're having issues with the bigger picture because the husband is very concerned about global climate change and why we aren't doing enough and we really need to help save the earth. But he's very radicalized about this. And the wife is concerned that he's kind of going over the edge with this. So he's helping counsel them. Meantime, he, as an Ethan Hawke, is really struggling with his place in the world. He's had some personal loss, and he's basically he's like a little showpiece for this old church, which the mega church just kind of uses as, come take a tour, it'll be fun kind of thing. Even though it's an actual church and he actually has his own congregation and stuff, but apparently his congregation looks like it's about 12 people because hardly anyone ever shows up for anything. So he's dealing with his own personal issues and his crisis of faith and a relationship that he has with a woman who really wants to be with him, and he has a very brutal scene where he dismisses her, and yeah, it's even rough to watch if that would happen to a real person. Things escalate with a young couple. That's all I'm going to say at this point. And gradually it turns into he's going on a really, really dark journey. Imagine that in a Paul Schrader film. Again, think about Taxi Driver and imagine that. So there are some parallels there with those characters of this person descends further and further down a really scary slope. I can't really say it's a thriller. It is more of a drama, but things, like I said, take a very dark turn and get really interesting with this. There's no violence. Well, there's a little bit of violence in it, but not what you would typically think of as violence. It's more after effects of violence. Really, really interesting film. I can't say it's a great film, but if you like intense dramas, if you like great character studies, and if you like great acting, because Ethan Hawke is like he always is, off the charts, really recommend. And again, it's not a happy time. It's not like the movie that Rob mentioned on Sunday's show. It's not a singing, dancing, apocalyptic zombie movie, because that would be fun in comparison. But First Reformed is a very good, very good character study. Ethan Hawke is excellent.
Now you see, you went the drama thing, nice and intense and no violence. Conversely, I found a movie that is a comedy with violence and stuff in it. Because I'm hitting up the birthday lists. And yesterday, on Thanksgiving of all days, Jamie Lee Curtis turned 60, I believe. Still looks great, by the way. Must be the Activia. And I thought, what could I do that we haven't done? Because we did her Halloween movies. And what can we do for the daughter of Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis? Because I keep forgetting that part. So I decided to go back to, what was it, 1988, to a little film called A Fish Called Wanda, which is, I think, just about as opposite First Reformed as you're going to get. If you haven't seen this movie, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but you need to see this. It's a brilliant, funny movie. Weirdly, and I didn't know this, one of the directors of the movie, because there were two, Charles Crichton was one, uncredited in this was John Cleese as a director. Didn't know that. And yes, that is John Cleese of Monty Python fame, teaming up with Michael Palin, also of Monty Python fame, with Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Kline as your four main characters. Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Kline, Michael Palin, and a different actor named Tom Georgeson are thieves from very different walks of life, really, who team up to rob a jewelry store. And then they spend the rest of the movie basically double-crossing each other to take all the money for themselves. And the first thing they do is get Tom Georgeson's character, named George, how convenient, and frame him for the whole thing. But George moved the loot. So that brings in John Cleese's character of Archie Leach, who is George's attorney, and they're trying to figure out where George put the diamonds. There's your plot. It gets really weird. It's very Monty Python-esque in a lot of areas because, the Monty Python guys are in it. Kevin Kline, I thought, was brilliant, and we're not the only ones who thought he was brilliant. I forgot he won an Oscar for supporting actor in this movie.
It looks brilliant.
And the whole thing, it's a funny, silly comedy movie that I think everyone needs to see this at least once because there's a lot in it.
If you see it at least once, you're going to see it probably about 6 or 7 times.
There probably are. I don't know that there's any. I don't know. I think even the sex scene that is kind of very odd in this movie. It's almost it's not quite kid friendly, but it's almost kid friendly because it's not like they actually show anything. And you can just tell the kids, "Hey, look over there. There's a sheep," and they'll go, "What?" And then it'll be done, and you won't have to worry about it anymore. One other thing, this is also Stephen Fry's first credited movie appearance toward the end of the movie. I had forgotten about that too. Actually, I knew he was in it. I didn't realize it was his first credited movie appearance. Not his first movie appearance, because apparently that was one of the kids singing in the Chariots of Fire choir. I had to look that up. I went, okay, if it's his first credited, what are the uncredited ones? Anywho. Fish Called Wanda. I'm sure it's streaming everywhere. Yes, it's me. I forgot to look. It's on Amazon Prime. I'm sure it's on Netflix or something.
Absolutely great movie. There's so many small things. Like you mentioned, Tom Georgeson plays the character George. It's George Thomason is his character, which is like God.
Yeah.
Archie Leach is.
Yeah, I guess it is, isn't it?
Cary Grant's real name, and John Cleese, who again co-Cleese. Yeah, that's Archie.
Is
Leach.
It? Okay.
It just goes on and on. The character of Otto, all the characters are brilliantly written, but Kevin Kline he's so close to over the top, but not. He's just at the top. He's insanely funny. To me, Kevin Kline he's a great actor. I mean, obviously, drama, anything. I mean, Absolutely. Excellent actor. And to me, this is his best role. I don't know if he would agree, but the Oscars obviously did. This movie's worth watching just for Kevin Kline's character alone. But John Cleese is brilliant. Jamie Lee Curtis is brilliant. Michael Palin, I wish he'd had a little bit bigger role in it because he's awesome as the character. But everybody is awesome in this film, and it's so insanely funny. And 30th anniversary, by the way, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
Fish Called Wanda. So
just under the wire. Thank you.
Man. Super, super funny movie. So if you want to have fun, don't watch the movie I recommended. Watch A Fish Called Wanda. First Reformed is an excellent movie, and I do recommend you watch it. But you better be in a strong mental state. I'll just put it that way. You better be ready for it. Fish Called Wanda, though. Oh my God, just absolutely hilarious movie. Is it one of the 10 funniest movies ever? Maybe. It's probably some.
It could be. And actually, I didn't realize this. John Cleese's daughter in the movie, conveniently, is his
I did not realize that
daughter. Either. That's something about this movie is every time you watch it, you're going to catch something, whether it's in the movie itself or in the credits, and you go, hang on a minute, is that who that? And it is. And you go, wow, okay, didn't notice that the first time around.
Cynthia Cleese, who's been in 3 movies. She obviously didn't really care that much for the.
You get the feeling it was a fine dad.
Then she was. I didn't realize she was in Fierce Creatures. That's interesting. She played. She played Pip, Small Mammals. Fierce Creatures.
I refuse to
Fierce Creatures, which, by the way, is the follow-up to a Fish Called Wanda, also known as the sequel. But which explains why she was in it. Anyway, Fish Called Wanda is absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely. And it's a holiday, so you've got time. So you know what? If you want to sit on the couch, that'll work. Otherwise, you can get out and go see a movie.
That's pretty much it. Pretty much it.